Tao's finally back, and I've never been more ready. We're going to be tackling everything you need to know about this character. There's some things you absolutely need to know about Hu Tao. Now, Hu Tao is the premier HP scaling DPS. She might be a little old, but man, does she have the power. And this is going to come from her elemental skill, Guide to the Afterlife, which is going to give you bonus attack based on your maximum health. Now, this does have a restriction because it can only give you equivalent attack bonus equal to 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. A very easy way to find this out. You go to attributes, you click on details, and this white number up here by attack is going to be your base attack. So this is a very important thing to understand when leveling Hu Tao. A lot of the times you'll see certain guides or YouTube shorts or TikToks or whatever that say, oh, you can leave such characters at level 70, level 80, level 90. You don't really lose out on anything, just talent levels. With Hu Tao, you do kind of lose out on a lot of stuff because of Guide to the Afterlife. You need to have as much HP as possible. One of the only ways to change your base HP is going to be leveling up to level 90, and it's also going to increase your base attack. So you need to level up Guide to the Afterlife in the character to get the most amount out of this elemental skill. As far as talent priority goes, not only is Guide to the Afterlife very important, but so is your normal attack. Most of your damage is coming from your normal attack, charge attack combo, so you need to have both of these maxed out to get the most effectiveness from Hu Tao. Spirit Soother, her elemental burst, in some builds is sort of an afterthought and used as a way to do a large amount of damage one time. And while it does do a large hit, the most amount of your damage, like we just said, is going to come from your normal and charged attacks. And if you're under that 50% HP threshold, the increased healing you get is around like a 33-ish%, as you can see here, from 9.23 to 12.3 for every enemy that you do indeed hit. Hu Tao also has another 50% HP threshold from one of her Ascension talents, which is going to give her 33% more pyro damage as long as you're under 50% health. This is very easy to do because, as you can see from Guide to the Afterlife, it does sacrifice 30% of your current health, which means that Hu Tao's playstyle, you kind of want to sit under that 50% HP threshold so you gain access to that free 33% pyro damage bonus. She also does have one small little supportive aspect, which comes from Flutterby, her other Ascension talent, which is going to give other party members 12% crit rate after she leaves her elemental skill, Guide to the Afterlife, which allows a lot of sub DPS options for her, Xingqiu, Yelan, to do even more damage consistently from the free 12% crit rate, which is fantastic for a lot of Hu Tao teams. Now, when using Hu Tao in combat, there's a couple specific things you're going to need to know how to do. Animation cancels or combos, whatever it is you want to call them. Don't skip. It's very important and it's very easy to do. We're not trying to dragon strike here. The first one's going to be called the N1CJ, all right? N1 means one normal attack. C is charge attack. J for jump. So you're doing one normal attack, a charge attack, and a jump. You want to know how hard this is to do? Thankfully, I think the developers kind of had our backs here, because if you are from the idle state of just walking around and you just go to charge attack, Hu Tao will automatically do a normal attack for you. So to complete this entire combo, you just hold this button and then jump. You've mastered it, all right? Guess what the other one is? This is the N1CD, normal attack, charge attack, dash. I think I died. All jokes aside, these two things are very easy to do, and they're the main bread and butter of all the damage that you're going to be doing with Hu Tao. It allows you to proc characters like Yelan and Xingqiu because there's automatically a normal attack there, which will hydro the enemy, and then you can vaporize them with your charge attack. Super strong, super powerful. The alternatives to these is literally the N2CJ and the N2CD, which is just two normal attacks before you do the charge attack, and you animation cancel them the same exact way. Won't be very difficult for you to master, even on something like a mobile device or a very old PC. Now, as far as artifact builds go, by far and away my favorite one, but it's not the only one, is the Shimenawa's Reminiscence set. The two-piece here, 18% attack, is a marginal damage increase, but remember, most of our attack actually comes from our HP to attack conversion from her elemental skill. What we're really here for is for the 4-piece here. When you use an elemental skill, it's going to consume 15 of your energy from your elemental burst, but it's going to give you 50% normal charged and plunging attack damage for 10 seconds. That 10 seconds is perfect because it lines up with our elemental skill window of 9 seconds, well, perfectly. You'll be able to pop this and then do 50% both normal and charge attack damage. And with the combos we just said, well, it's a normal attack into a charge attack over and over and over for forever. The vast majority of your damage is coming from normal and charge attacks, so this artifact set is wonderful for Hu Tao. As her elemental burst is more of a quality of life thing. It does do one big hit every once in a while. It's not the direct thing you're building for. You can ignore ER really on this character and use it every once in a while to heal up if you so desire. The main thing that we're focusing on though in this build is normal and charge attack damage, and so we have access to the Shim set, which is perfect. We also have access to the old mainstay Crimson Witch of the Flames, which is going to be 2-piece pyro damage bonus of 15%, and then the 4-piece is going to increase your elemental reaction damage, overloaded, burning, burgeoning, all 40% increases, vaporize and melt 15%. Very potent set on Hu Tao. The one downside of Crimson Witch of the Flame set, as you can see the very end, is every time you elemental skill, you're going to be able to increase that 15% bonus damage by 50%. So it goes from 15 and then you get another 7.5 and then a 7.5. Hu Tao can't really do that because she's got one skill on a 9-second cooldown. She only gets one stack of this effect here, but you are going to get the extra 7.5% for 22.5% pyro damage bonus in total, and then some bonuses to your reaction damage as well. And another bonus for the Crimson Witch of the Flame set is that you can now craft them using your old 5-star artifacts, so you can farm up artifacts for other characters and then go back to the alchemy table and get some nice gear for your Hu Tao. She also has access to the new Gilded Dream set, which is the newest set that works pretty well on her. It does give her 2-piece bonus elemental mastery of 80, and then the 4-piece triggers on an elemental reaction and will either give you attack percent increase or more elemental mastery. For every party member who matches your elemental type, you get attack percent. For every party member that doesn't match, you get elemental mastery. In a lot of Hu Tao teams, she's the sole pyro character, so this can give you 150 elemental mastery from the 4-piece, and then you get the extra 80 from the 2-piece for a total of 230 elemental mastery, which is pretty significant because, well, Hu Tao loves elemental reactions. The one downside to this set though, and why it's slightly worse than the other ones, is you can get elemental mastery from different characters that are supporting you. If you're trying her out in a burgeoning team, you're going to have access to characters like Nahida. If you try her out in an Anemo-based team with the Viridescent Venrir set to buff her damage, you could use Sucrose and boost that even more. However, if you have really good subsets on this set, it's up to you if you want to use this one or Crimson Witch of the Flames.
4-piece Hunter is also a fantastic set for Hu Tao if you're using specifically Farina in your team. The 2-piece is going to give you normal and charge attack damage plus 15%, which, like we talked about, is where most of our damage is coming from, and you're going to get a massive 36% free crit rate as you're able to get all 3 stacks in a Farina team. If you compare it to something like Shiminawa's Reminiscence set, you're going to lose that marginal attack percent bonus and 35% damage bonus from your normal charging and plunging attacks from the Shimren 4-piece, but you're going to gain 36% crit rate, which is absolutely insane.
Out of all the sets, Shiminawa's Reminiscence set is still my favorite set. It also has the bonus of being in the same domain with the Emblem of Severed Fate set, so if you don't have access to this already, you get to farm 2 amazing sets at the same time. Now, when building Hu Tao, the main stat that you're going to want on your goblet is going to be pyro damage. Your circlet's going to either be a crit chance or a crit damage main circlet, and you're aiming for a 2-to-1 ratio if you can on crit rate to crit damage. 70 crit rate, 140 crit damage, 50 crit rate, 100 crit damage, 100 crit chance, 200 crit damage. Aim for that 2-to-1 ratio. It's the golden mathematical one, and it's the easiest way at the glance of an eye to know if you're on the right track with your crit chance and your crit damage. Don't freak out if you're not exactly on it, but aim for it. When it comes to a Sands, HP percent Sands or an elemental mastery main stat Sands will be the thing that you're aiming for. Elemental mastery is very good on Hu Tao, and you're going to get a lot of return from it on your build. This is one of the reasons why the Gilded Dream set was sort of a thing that was sort of okay because it takes away from having the ability to wear an elemental mastery sands, because you're going to be so overcapped on elemental mastery in the Gilded Dream set that it could be a lot harder for you to get the correct gear stats that you need to make that set shine. Now, when working on your main stats and subsets for Hu Tao, the first thing you want to get is some elemental mastery. You want to aim for at least 100 and 150 elemental mastery to boost up that reaction damage you're going to be doing with Hu Tao, whether it's Vaporize or Melt, or maybe you're crazy out there and you have her in a burgeoning team too. This is something that's going to affect all of the teams that you're going to put her in, and it's a very substantial increase. As you can see, 156 elemental mastery is 27.9% damage increase straight up to Vaporize and Melt, which is actually massive. After that, you're going to want to work on crit chance and then crit damage. Don't forget about HP, and also if you have extra time and extra subsets to go into it, 200 to maybe even up to 300 elemental mastery to really get the damage rolling on Hu Tao. Now, when it comes to weapons for Hu Tao, there is no substitute for the Staff of Homa. It is by far and away her best in slot weapon. It gives you crit damage, which is amazing for her. It also gives you additional HP scaling, which is fantastic because now you have two reasons to build health. One for Staff of Homa and also her elemental skill, Guide to the Afterlife. If you don't want to pull on this weapon, don't feel pressured to, but it is very, very, very strong for her. However, a very strong runner-up is actually the Staff of the Scarlet Sands. It has a ton of crit rate on it, which makes her very easy to build, but it also has EM to attack conversion. Not too unlike the HP to attack conversion from Staff of Homa, but Staff of the Scarlet Sands is going to do a lot for you if you have that 200, 250 elemental mastery for all your reactions on Hu Tao. While not as good as Staff of Homa, Scarlet Sands is a fantastic option, so if you have it laying around from the Sino banner, then go ahead and put it on Hu Tao. The Jade Wing Spear does have crit rate on it, and it does have fairly good stats for a 5-star weapon. However, the attack percent bonus on this is just based off her base attack, and that's not going to be the highest thing on Hu Tao, so it is a little bit diminished there. It does give you damage bonus up on reaching maximum stacks of 7, but she's going to stack them relatively slowly compared to a lot of other characters because of her normal attack, charge attack, cancel combo is still her best damage. So this might not hit the max stacks during the big damage bonus burst of your elemental skill until near the end of it when it's going to wear off anyway. Speaking of crit rate, you also have access to the deathmatch. Just like the Jade Wing Spear, we don't care too much about the attack percent and defense percent bonuses of the refinement ability, but getting up to 30-something crit rate for free makes her pretty easy to build. In the low base attack of the deathmatch, Hu Tao doesn't care too much about outside of the one thing that you need to be wary of. Remind yourselves, Guide to the Afterlife can only give you attack equivalent to 400% of your base attack. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, the deathmatch, but it still is a solid option for Hu Tao. Another 4-star weapon is the deathmatch, and this one's going to give you elemental mastery, which is going to buff up all the damage you're going to be doing with your Vaporize, Melt, burgeoning reactions. It also does have a nice refinement ability that increases your damage dealt to enemies that are afflicted with Hydro or Pyro. So if you're running her in a Vaporized team, this is almost always going to be active, which makes it a very nice weapon. If you have very good crit rate and crit damage already, you can get all of the elemental mastery we're talking about from this weapon for your build, and then get some damage bonus on top of that. And then the free-to-play weapon for Hu Tao is the Black Tassel, gives HP percent. If you need to use it, it's there. It also works very well against slimes because, well, 80% damage to slimes is pretty powerful, though that part of this weapon's more of a meme and you're here for the health instead. Xingqiu is the bread and butter staple for Hu Tao teams, often for his elemental burst, the Guhao Sword Rain Cutter. This is going to allow you to apply Hydro to your enemies so you can vaporize them with Hu Tao. He also does apply damage reduction to the character who has the swords following them, which is going to be very helpful if you do manage to get hit a couple of times with Hu Tao as your active character. He also has a tiny amount of healing with Hydropathic, which is actually very nice for Hu Tao because it allows you to heal her, but only just enough to keep her just under 50% HP, so you gain access to her 33% damage bonus. Yelan's going to be a super offensive version of Xingqiu. She's trading that damage reduction and minor healing for even more damage with Adept with Ease, and she also has access to a lot of personal damage from Depth Clarion Dice and Lingering Lifeline. She's a fantastic character to fill that Hydro slot that you want for Vaporize with Hu Tao. You also can use both of them together. This is the double Hydro Hu Tao team, which gives you a ton of Hydro application, allowing you to just vaporize everything in the known world. And if you have both Xingqiu and Yelan built for support DPS, then you're also going to give them a little bit bonus crit rate with Flutterby, the Ascension talent of Hu Tao, making them do even more consistent damage as off-field damage dealers. Top of the two Hydro characters, you may choose to use either or both of them. You also have access to very powerful and prominent shield characters, the one most known being Zhongli. He's going to give you access to elemental resistant shredding with his elemental skill Dominus Lapidus, while also protecting Hu Tao from taking damage, because we all know and love her, but she kind of loves living at like 20% HP a lot of the times, and having a big shield like Zhongli's on her is going to allow you to just kind of ignore a ton of mechanics while you're doing all of the damage on Hu Tao. But my favorite shielder currently right now for her is actually Layla, who can do huge shields on Hu Tao. She also has the ability to apply cryo to a lot of enemies, which in a vaporized team, well, sometimes you're going to be freezing them and then melting them. And for elemental reactions in Genshin Impact, Pyro on Cryo Melt is twice the damage bonus of Pyro on Hydro, which is Vaporize. So this is going to be a fantastic team for you to work on if you have all of these characters. Powerful animal supports wearing the Viridis and Venra set like Sucrose and Kaza are also fantastic for Hu Tao teams. Swirl the Pyro damage to reduce the resistance to Pyro of the enemies, and then either give giant bonus elemental mastery with Sucrose or giant bonus elemental damage bonus with Kaza. Either one of these is a very good choice in a Hu Tao team.
Frina's another fantastic support for your Hu Tao team. She's able to apply off-field Hydro while doing damage with her elemental skill, while also healing up as well if you need to recuperate throughout the fight for your active character, even at Constellation 0. Access to giant fanfare stacks is something that's quite easy for your Hu Tao to activate, as long as you have some way to heal her back up, whether it's with Farina, another healer in your party, or your Hu Tao's Elemental Burst. Shallona's another fantastic support for these Hu Tao teams. Using her Elemental Skill and Elemental Burst, her Burst is going to help heal your Hu Tao up if you have her in a Farina team, so you can increase your fanfare stacks throughout, while also being able to shred both Pyro and Hydro resistance in these double Hydro Hu Tao parties. In addition to that, if you have her on Hero of the Cinder City, she's going to give further damage bonuses to your off-field Hydro supports. Another incredibly powerful support is going to be Shan Yun, who's going to enable not just healing for your Hu Tao to keep up fanfare stacks if you decide to play her with Farina, but also enable the ability for Hu Tao to be a plunging attack spammer, allowing you to leverage that giant attack that you gain access to on your Hu Tao and attaching a giant multiplier to her big plunges. You can put her in Viridis and Venra setup as well to help your off-field supports, or maybe Hu Tao as well if you want to lead with your Elemental Burst, and definitely needs to be mentioned as a character for Hu Tao, especially if you don't like Hu Tao's normal attack chaining combos, because some people just don't like to animation cancel, and this character can fix that.
The old Viridis and Venra Vape team was the original team. We just got done talking about Kazuha and Sucrose. You pick one of those characters, you pick either Xingqiu or Yelan, and you kind of get in there and do a bunch of reaction damage. The one downside to this team is you're going to want to bring another Pyro character so your animal character can actually swirl Pyro around before Hu Tao actually takes the field. Now, with Zhongli being in the mix, you can add another Geo character to get Geo resonance. Someone like Albedo or Yunjin will be the core of your double Geo team to go with Zhongli. Then you'll bring another Hydro character, whether it's Yelang or Xingqiu, as well as Hu Tao. This will allow you to have a very tanky Hu Tao that's either protected by Zhongli's shield while doing bonus damage in Albedo's field, or having a perfect counterattack with Yunjin that can also buff up the normal attack portion of your normal attack charge attack combo. While not the greatest combination of characters, it still does work quite well today, even if it's a little bit behind some of her other teams. Some players may find the giant tankiness of your Hu Tao in this team to fit their playstyle perfectly. The double Hydro team right now is my favorite way to play here. You use Yelang, Xingqiu, as well as Hu Tao, and then your choice of a shielder character. Zhongli gives you the most amount of damage consistently because not only does he protect you, but he's going to give you that 20% resistant shred to everyone around you while you have his shield on.
There's a ton of different ways to play with Hu Tao now in 2024. You let me know which way you intend to play with her down below. Slap that sub and I'll see you guys in the next one.